All right, welcome back, everybody. This is lecture 25, part 2. We're going to talk briefly about the transition happening in gaming media right now. So, historically, the game industry had been covered in specialized media. So, in the 80s and 90s, this was magazines. We talked about the introduction of Electronic Gaming Magazine at the end of the 80s in '89, and then prior to that, the startup of Nintendo Power from Nintendo. So in the 80s and through the mid 90s to late 90s, print magazines, specialty magazines, were one of the main ways that the gaming industry was covered through media. Then starting in the late 90s through the 2000s, lots of big mainstream websites, IGN, Kotaku, GameSpot, Polygon, um, Gama Sutra. There's a whole bunch of these, right? But anyway, Giant Bomb. There's a ton of these, and a lot of them have fairly big amounts of web traffic. But websites kind of became the main way folks found out about games or checked up on games or went to find out game news, game reviews, stuff like that. It shifted away from the magazines to the websites, as you might imagine. Recently, over this last decade, though, we've got a bunch of new outlets for covering games, video games, and the industry itself. A lot of these take the form of live streams. These are live video feeds of game related content that is broadcast over the internet. So these are things like stream let's play videos or just streaming in general, where you might go to Twitch and see something. Um, they also do these as recorded videos, not necessarily live streams, just of promo reels of games coming from a developer or a news blast coming from a console company, things like that. Sometimes you have things like you have the streaming with the live casting. I'm sorry, that's confusing. Someone's playing a game and you can see a corner of them in the window and they talk about the game while they're playing it. Sometimes it's just sheer marketing also happens. Let's play videos are things where either live or recorded video where someone plays your game offering commentary are part of this, Nintendo Directs are part of this. So a very heavy move to video coverage of the game industry and new games, but primarily through the internet via streaming, right? So this isn't getting covered on TV. This is really primarily done over platforms like Twitch or Mixer, YouTube, things like that. So let's take a look at some of these in just a little bit more detail. Twitch TV is the biggest one known of these platforms. This is the one for live streaming. This is the one I'm using to demo games for class during our normal class time. So this allows you to live stream video game playing. You can do lots of stuff. I mean, if you put a camera on yourself, you can Twitch yourself, stream yourself making cakes or uh, setting up Tinker Toys. I mean, just almost anything you can imagine. So, sorry, I have a very itchy nose today. The live streams of video game playings. You can actually, if you reach a certain threshold of viewers and subscribers, as they call them, you can start selling subscriptions for money. Your channel can become ad supported. You can make a lot of money if you're a big time streamer, but it is a very demanding line of work. I was hoping we'd have more time to cover this in class, and unfortunately, with our sort of abbreviated schedule, we're just going to touch on it here a little bit. But if you're a streamer and that's really your job, you're expected to stream, 20, 30 hours a week, 5, 6 hours a day of constant just content generation, which is very tough. But it has created a new media outlet for the game industry and for gamers, right? I may not want to, I don't really care about IGN's coverage, but I might find a streamer whose gaming tastes match mine, and I might use that as a way to check out new games, to see if I'd be interested or see what kind of games they suggest, things I might like. It's a very different model than what had existed previously. Twitch also allows user interaction. So the famous example is Twitch Plays Pokemon, where everyone can type in the chat and they actually finished the original Pokemon Game Boy games. I think a couple other generations of Pokemon simply by having people randomly type commands into the thing. It's like a million monkeys typing Shakespeare. It's kind of amazing. Twitch, in fact, was so amazing that Amazon decided they needed to buy it for about $1 billion in 2014. So clearly, Amazon thinks Twitch is a platform that is here to stay, and it has proven very useful for many things, including reruns of old TV shows, um, things like Mr. Rogers, Mystery Science Theater 3000, one of my favorite old shows. All that stuff has their own Twitch channel, and you can subscribe to it, and they play that content 24 hours a day. And again, it's fun to watch streams of people doing, if they're good streamers and they offer funny commentary or insightful commentary, talking about games that you may or may not be interested in. It's a very useful platform. YouTube, to compete with Twitch, created YouTube Gaming, but they discontinued that last May and just turned it into regular YouTube. So now YouTube just supports the same live streaming that Twitch does. Previously, YouTube had pretty much been for pre-recorded things. Microsoft offers the Mixer platform on both the Xbox and their Windows PC platforms. Microsoft has really been aggressive about this. They signed Ninja from Twitch last year, who's a famous streamer, to try to get more eyeballs on Mixer. And there, you're sort of seeing these big deals for these top streamers who attract millions of viewers. And in class, I would often ask, why is this a focus for Microsoft right now? But it's really clear that this is probably the way most people are checking out new games. I mean, one of the things you can do is jump on Twitch and just see what the most popular streams are. And in some cases, that gives you a hint when a game is up and coming or when a game has broken through and is really top tier. Things like Fortnite and PUBG, all very popular. Dota, all that stuff, very popular. So Microsoft again would also like a piece of this business, and they're trying to do it by signing top streamers and then making the streaming native to their platforms, so it's a little bit easier for people to use. Nintendo Direct is a good example of how a game company would use this. So a Nintendo Direct is basically either a live stream or recorded videos that come straight from Nintendo. And they're basically designed to inform fans of game releases, of news about Nintendo, of promotions Nintendo might be running. Basically, this allows Nintendo to address consumers directly without using traditional gaming media. It takes advantage of social media, right? So when Nintendo posts this to their Facebook page, everyone starts commenting on, oh, look, there's the new Zelda, there's the new thing. And then people see it in their feeds. And then, it allows sort of direct interaction between consumers and Nintendo without any intermediaries. And Nintendo has actually chosen to use the Nintendo Direct several times in the recent past rather than attend industry events like the Electronics Entertainment Expo or E3 to make their big announcements, right? Just get it straight from the horse's mouth, get it from Nintendo. And this has proven very valuable. And so other consoles are also doing this. Sony and Microsoft have things. Sony offers the State of Play, it's very similar. Microsoft offers Inside Xbox. And I don't know yet if these are the most effective ways of communicating to gamers or people interested in games, but clearly there's value in it because all of the major console manufacturers are doing it. I don't know how prevalent this is for mobile or PC, and it may not be since those franchises are a little bit more splintered. But for the game consoles, this has become a very large way they interact with their fans or people who are interested in their products. So this is just a big shift overall over the past, I would say, decade or so of, we were sort of going to all the big websites and now it's almost directly from the company to the consumer without a lot of intermediary stuff in between, and except if you talk about the live streaming. And we'll talk about that in part 3. So that's it for part 2. We'll see you again in part 3.